Number 6, given two positive real numbers a and b, the function f of x equals a times cosine of bx plus 1 has a maximum value of 8 and a period of pi. What is the value of a plus b? Alright, so for this problem, it looks like they want to check if you really understand the graph of the cosine function. Actually, not just the graph itself, but also like all the key parts like the maximum, minimum value, period, and so on. But here's the thing, the function isn't just plain cosine. It's been changed a bit. First, they multiplied something in front of the cosine, and then they added something onto that. And also, instead of just x, they plugged in b times x inside the cosine. So here's what we're going to do. Let's start with the most basic function, y equals cosine of x. And from there, we'll try to build up to the function they gave us in the problem, f of x, step by step. Alright, so let's start by drawing y equals cosine of x first. Now technically the domain is all real numbers, but since the cosine function has a period of 2 pi, we only really need to draw one period. The rest of the graph just repeats after that, so there's no reason to draw the whole thing, right? So it's not really necessary to do that. So let's just go from 0 to 2 pi. Now, here's the x-axis and y-axis. Let's say from 0 to 2 pi takes up about this much bunch of space. Right, so we're going from 0 to 2 pi. But actually, let's break that up into 4 equal parts, actually. Those are actually key points we really want to focus on. So first, pi is halfway between 0 to 2 pi. Then pi over 2 is halfway between 0 to pi. And finally, 3 pi over 2, 3/4 of the way. And alright, let's get into the actual graph now. From 0 to 2 pi, the cosine of x graph goes down and back up, right? It starts at 1 when x equals 0, so like this. And at x equals pi over 2, it crosses the x-axis, so the value is 0. Then at x equals pi, it reaches the minimum, which is y equals -1. So yeah, the graph kind of drops all the way down from 1 to -1 by the time it hits x equals pi. And then from x equals pi to x equals 2 pi, the graph goes back up. So something like this. It hits x-axis when x equals 3 pi over 2 here. And finally, at x equals 2 pi, it goes all the way back up to y equals 1. That's what y equals cosine of x looks like. And alright, now using the basic shape, which is this, let's go step by step and turn it into the function they gave us in the problem. So first, we're going to multiply by a. Now, as you probably know, the range of the cosine is from -1 to 1, right? So we can write like this. Right? And let's go ahead and multiply all parts of that inequality by a. Then we get something like this. Yeah, and this is how the range changes. So what does that mean for the graph? We originally, the minimum value was -1 and the maximum was 1. But now, since we multiplied by a, the whole graph gets stretched or squished. We actually don't know whether a is greater than 1 or smaller than 1. So anyway, the new minimum is now -a, and new maximum is positive a. Oh, and by the way, they told us that a and b are both positive. So the overall shape of the graph doesn't flip or anything like that. If a were negative, then yeah, the graph would be upside down. So looking something like this. But in this case, it's not, right? So we don't really need to worry about that. So something to keep that in mind. All right, now for the second step, let's add 1 to that inequality we had earlier. Now when you add or subtract a constant from a function, that means you're shifting the graph vertically. In this case, we're adding plus 1, right? So the whole graph will move up by 1. Let's add 1 to all parts of that inequality. Negative a plus 1, a times cosine of x plus 1, and finally a plus 1. So move everything by 1. Then it'll look something like this. And therefore this is a plus 1. And minimum negative a plus 1 according to that inequality. Now here's the final part. In the cosine function, we don't just have x anymore. We have b times x inside. So what happens when you replace x with b times x in a function? Well, this is one of the basic transformation rules. When you multiply x by b, the graph gets compressed horizontally by a factor of b. So what changes? It's the period. The shape stays the same, but it gets squeezed horizontally. Since the graph gets narrower, but actually, if b is less than 1, then the graph actually stretches out instead of getting compressed. So the graph could end up looking wider or more chubby or stretched it out. But honestly, we don't really know for sure because they didn't tell us. We don't know whether b is greater than 1 or less than 1 or equal to 1, but that doesn't make sense. It depends on the value of b, obviously. But for now, we can just understand that there's a change in the period. That's the main idea. The period changes depending on b. So the period of cosine of x was originally 2 times pi. But if you replace x with b times the x, the new period becomes 2 pi divided by b. So how does that change the graph? Let me show you. So these values, right, divide all those x values by b. Something like this. That's it. Finally, we've got our final function. Y equals a times cosine of b times x plus 1. And this is the f of x that the question is asking for. Now, let's look at the conditions they gave us. It has a maximum value of 8 and a period of pi. What's the maximum value? Yep, it's a plus 1. And that equals a. And if we subtract 1 from both sides, we can figure out that a equals 7. And second one, a period of pi. This equals pi. So 2 pi over b equals pi. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these two. So, therefore, 2 pi divided by pi equals b. So cancel out pi. Therefore, b equals 2. Now finally, question was asking you to figure out what a plus b is. So add those two values. A plus b equals 7 plus 2, which equals 9. Alright, so number 4 is our answer.